see. Let me.
Got a message saying recording in progress. Good. Got it.
Okay.
Let me, I'm gonna mute and forward the invitation to Dennis. Let me see if I can do it directly from here. Invite. Email. Gmail.
So how you doing, Rich?
Good, Paul. You?
Better?
How's everyone doing?
Hey, Dan.
Hey, appreciate taking the time, Bob, to do this. This is great.
No problem. I
Of course,
could.
it's going to rain.
Well, that's why I have campground reservations in 4 states.
Wow.
So we
Yeah.
all.
I don't have that flexibility. I'm traveling with my wife, and kids are planning to be up at the hotel, and grandkids, and
Yeah, we'll be in Indianapolis at my brother-in-law's house. That's where her family's from. So,
You have a backup plan, Dan?
well, if it rains, we're just not going to go. That's the backup plan.
Yeah, I'm debating on, I'm going to Texas. How far? The whole state can't be covered in clouds. It's a big state.
True, true.
just get your shots. Head over the border to Mexico. It'll be good down there.
Yeah, bring my passport and a couple firearms.
Yeah, they'll string you
Reports
up
don't
on
look good
an
for Mexico.
overpass.
Clouds in Mexico.
Is this meeting supposed to start at 7 o'clock or 7:30?
7.
You're right on
And now
time.
that you're here, Dennis, we can start, right?
I couldn't find, for some reason, I got a lot of this mail going to junk. I don't know why I didn't tell it to go to junk.
Huh.
Dan, the guy in the, takes all the pictures. His stuff's going to junk. I didn't tell it to go to junk.
He's,
Want to tell him that? He's on right
yeah,
now.
he's on, so that you can talk to him directly.
Hey, Dan. So no, I guess you have to never send that person to junk. So I did that.
Can you do, because I get a lot of that too. Probably about 10% of stuff from Groups IO ends up in my spam folder, my junk folder. I'm like, why? Paul, you've had that happen too a couple of times.
Well, yeah, some stuff that comes to info at SJC, all of a sudden you get it and I don't, and it's in my junk folder.
I gotta grab.
I forget to check it occasionally and scan through it.
So now you got me curious. I didn't say 7:30 on the original thing, did I?
I
Now,
think you said 7.
Okay. Good.
Dan, are you hooking up a telescope to your Renin 6D Mark II or the lens?
Who was that to?
Dan, you got to hit your space bar to talk.
Oh, there we go. I'm gonna use the Red Cat 71, which is 350 millimeters.
Okay.
I'm probably gonna rent another camera so I can run a different scope or lens.
You're going to get a
Only
crop
80
sensor?
bucks to rent a camera for a week, so it's nice.
Yeah. Are you going, the other one going to be an APS-C?
No full frame. Gonna rent the same type. I bought a camera on eBay for 700 bucks, 60, which was almost brand new. So I'll use it for this, and then I could get my money back afterwards, sell it back.
At 350 full frame.
Yeah, I guess that's really
You're
not
gonna be
much
out.
benefit.
You're gonna be out a bit. You're gonna be out, a bit. But I mean, I guess if you want to capture the whole corona, I guess.
Well,
I've
that
never
was a
done it
question
before,
I had.
so-
I was looking back at, like, last time I shot a 80 millimeter scope that's 480 millimeter focal length with a crop sensor.
Yep, that's exactly what I did.
Okay.
I'm
And it
doing
was
it
good,
again.
but it was zoomed in, and I guess I'm looking back at some of the raw images, and some of the longest streamers definitely went out of the frame. And
Yeah. I personally, I'm more interested in prominences and Bailey's beads and that stuff than I am getting the full corona. So that's why I picked the 480 and crop sensor.
Okay.
I'm after both. I'm doing wide angle with a full frame and high zoom with a crop sensor.
There he
just-
is. I thought I knew Wayne was going to join me, and he's I think he has a friend that might join as well.
Wayne
Mark.
Phillips.
Yeah. Hey, Mark.
Hey,
How
I
are you?
haven't seen Wayne Phillips in a long time. Hi, Mark.
hi.
Yeah, I hadn't heard from him in a while either, but evidently this piqued his interest, I guess. You there, Wayne?
I'm here.
Okay.
Wayne's here.
I is here.
Hi, Wayne.
How you
Wayne's
doing?
World.
You spending a lot of time playing guitar like
There we
Bob
go.
over there?
What's that?
You spending a lot of time playing guitar like Bob over there?
No, I'm looking at the heavens and flying model airplanes.
Oh, okay.
It looks like you got a halo on right now.
Yeah, sorry. That's a bad choice of backgrounds.
Hey, Dan, your last picture is very nice.
Thank you.
The tail.
Yeah, I don't know what to call that thing.
It's a lot of detail.
I think Harry should get the award for the best comedy. He's got the greatest jokes and makes me laugh all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, where is Harry?
Mark, where's Harry?
He's not joining us. I don't think he's interested in doing the eclipse. So
What?
no, I'm just saying. I'm not understanding it or explaining it. He indicated to me he wasn't coming. So tonight.
Wow.
Okay, well, everyone that I knew was coming is here. And it's almost 10 after, so I guess I'll get started. With this crew, I mean, you're all, with the exception of David, you're all really knowledgeable about the topic.
I got Paul as my backup. We got my ADD working in Eclipse Orchestrator last night.
So some of the stuff I put together a little PowerPoint. Some of it I may go through pretty quickly because it's probably a waste of time with you guys. But we can go through it, and then Wayne, is your friend still going to join or not?
No, he's not. He wasn't able to come, but thank you.
Okay. All right. So let me share my screen and. See my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, wow.
So thanks, Dan, for suggesting this. I actually think David was actually asking me about it like a few weeks ago, back when I was heavily into COVID. And I thought, well, yeah, maybe there'll be some day to do that. But then, Dan, when you mentioned it, it's a great idea. So thanks for doing that. Like I said, I have a PowerPoint. I didn't get everything into it that I wanted to get into it, but it'll just serve as discussion. And so I'll go through it probably fairly quickly. And then I can connect up my camera to my PC and we can show the software and kind of go through it and just, back and forth questions. I know some people have had trouble getting hooked up and getting it going. Others, I'm sure, are way ahead. Some of us are waiting for parts to come in the mail. So we're at probably various different places. I think David, Paul, and Rich, I think all may have used this software last time. So several of us here have used it. So I'm by far not the I'm not no guru or anything. So I would ask everyone to, participate. So just quickly, did it advance to the next slide?
Yes.
Okay, good. So just, various different resources to learn more. Obviously, the website for the software. Um, it's not the best manual in the world, but I've read it 3 or 4 times. I get something out of it every time I read it, and it's not that long. There are, I don't know, half a dozen fairly recent threads on cloudy nights where you can typically learn something. If you can, what I did was I just went in and read a few of them, and then I searched for my camera in the cloudy nights threads, and found some things I didn't know about my camera, and that's helped me. And then I sent it before, but Jerry's notes from 2017 had a lot of good stuff in it about eclipse photography. So I would go there, obviously YouTube, and then of course each other. And then not the photography part of it, and I'll just go through this quickly. Um, uh, I've heard everyone say that the best thing for weather for eclipses and other space type stuff is Eclipsophile. I haven't done a lot with it, but it looked really interesting to me. This site, eclipse2024.org, is really, really good. It's got all sorts of stuff. It's got a simulator, which kind of shows you the shadow going over the whole track across the United States. And then it's got a map that you can click on, and it'll give you the local data about that location. Obviously lat long elevation, but then it'll tell you how far you are from the center line, how much totality you'll get at that location, all sorts of stuff. It's been really, for those who might be mobile like me and maybe Mark, it's really helpful to be able to get that data really easily. So why use this software? I think there's just basically 2 reasons. One is so you can watch the event and not have to worry about the camera. I always read that they say if it's your first eclipse, don't try and photograph it. I broke that rule, but only because of this software. And then it just makes it so easy to set all the exposure levels, and it gets the timing pretty close so that you can have the appropriate exposure at the appropriate time. So I'll stop here and say it's pretty good software, but they're not really supporting it anymore. And it can be kind of a squirrely, and it can lock up your computer. It is in some ways kind of fragile. So the more time you spend with it and learn, kind of your setup and what to do, what not to do, and in what order to do things, the better off you'll be. So anyway, it's not the best, but it's for PC, it's the only one out there, and even on Mac, if you have a newer Mac, it's really still hard to find any software that'll run on a new Mac. So
Hey, Bob.
yeah.
Is there something about Eclipse Maestro or something like that as well?
Yeah, Eclipse Maestro is for Macs.
Okay.
But they haven't updated it in a long time. It doesn't work on the new M1 Mac. So anybody who's bought a Mac in the last like 2 or 3 years is out of luck. So
Yeah, I did see something called, I think it's a clip or capture eclipse on the Mac.
yeah, I think I looked last night. There was a site I found that listed the various different ones. That there were 6 or 7, and I think 3 of them were Mac. And I kind of clicked on a couple of them and looked, and they didn't impress me, but I didn't try them.
Well, yeah, I guess I downloaded it, was free or something, and I looked at it, but it seems fairly rudimentary compared even to Eclipse Orchestrator. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And then there was Eclipse Orchestrator, and then there were a couple more I found, but they were for Canon cameras only. And so, I use a superior camera to Canon, so I didn't spend any time on that. Okay, so here's the here's the absolute minimum. And then I'll talk about what you can add to it. So obviously solar filter. Here's one that I bought online for my ED80. And then, oh, I forgot to get it out. I've also, this year I bought some sheets of solar film and made it, and then took some cardboard and just made some, because I'm gonna have, hopefully have 3 or 4 different rigs going. So I needed to make some more. So you can buy it, and it's really easy to make one with cardboard. And obviously safety first. The filter should be the first thing in your imaging train. When the sunlight hits your rig, the first thing it impinges upon should be the filter. Don't try and put the filter somewhere else in the imaging train. It's dangerous.
Now, are all filters the same? Like some are made of glass, some are made of film. They're all just like a neutral density filter?
They are like a neutral density filter, but don't just get a neutral density filter that's designed for a camera. Definitely get what's made for solar observation.
Right, but they have both the glass and the film. There's no difference between them practically
Well,
speaking?
some of them are just pure white light, and some of them actually, I think they just artificially add yellow to it.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, they're
You
based.
do that post-process, you don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
okay. Thank you.
Huh? It's Windows-based software. I'm running it on Windows 10. I don't know anybody. I don't know whether anybody's trying to run on Windows 11, but I think it's supposed to run on 11.
I tried it on my Parallels emulator on my Mac M1, and I couldn't. I could see my Canon was connecting to the laptop. When I connected the USB cable, a window popped up in Windows saying, "Do you want to be connecting to Parallels Windows 11 or to the Mac OS?" But when I opened up both the regular version and the beta version of EO, it wouldn't recognize it. I couldn't see it in the setup menu.
Yeah, so I have Parallels on my Mac as well. I was going to try that too, but I already have boat anchors all over the place
Yeah.
to run Windows. So I didn't try that. I read somewhere, I think it was on Cloudy Night, somewhere in a thread, that someone had tried it. I don't think they used Parallels. It was one of the other emulators on Mac, and they couldn't get it to work. So
Okay.
yeah, I'm
Well, the
not.
good news,
Well,
Mark, is you can get a PC Windows 10 on Amazon for $85.
Oh, I
I
have an
ordered one.
I
Yeah.
have a Hewlett Packard laptop that's maybe about, I got it maybe 2019.
Oh, that should be perfect then.
Yeah, that'll work.
And I haven't used it since 2020. I can't find the charging cable, so it's dead as a doorknob. So I ordered from Amazon a new power supply, which is arriving tomorrow, and I'll try that tomorrow. But I couldn't even launch the laptop today. So
If I remember correctly, Eclipse Orchestrator only goes up to Windows 10, not 11.
oh,
It's, yeah, if you look under compatibility, it says it can't do Vista, but it'll do XP, Windows 7, Windows 10. I didn't see
that doesn't
11
mean
on
it doesn't run on 11.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not
Yeah.
been.
Yeah,
You know,
it may
tested.
not. They haven't done anything with their website, so I that may be. I wouldn't be surprised if it would run under 11, but if you got a 10, use 10.
I have it right here.
Okay, camera. Only DSLRs and only ones that are compatible. But others may work. I actually last night was playing around with I have a Nikon Z7 mirrorless camera, and supposedly it's not supposed to work with mirrorless cameras, and I got it to work with my Z7. So and the good thing about that, I haven't decided whether I'm going to do that or not. That's full frame when I was hoping to do crop sensor, but my mirrorless, you can use the really fast I forget what kind of memory card it is, but it's about 3 times faster than the fastest SD card I can get. So I may try to do it with my mirrorless. I don't know yet. And then speaking of memory cards, get the fastest you can afford. As Dan said, as you can afford. And
Yeah,
get,
so I guess the only disadvantage with the full frame is the file size, which is gonna slow everything down. Is that correct?
yeah, but as you said, memory card can, if
Right,
you
yeah.
fast enough card, you can overcome that. But what is it? What is it I got? So my Nikon mirrorless actually it runs with SD cards, but also runs with the CF Express cards.
They're
Um,
faster, right?
yeah, they're about 3 times faster. So that's
So
why I may try that.
I just know in the SD card in the U-shaped there, you have to have the number 3 if you're going to use an SD card.
Okay.
That's the fastest for, like, I have an Extreme Pro. I had no issues with it.
Yeah, capacity is probably not a big deal. Because even if like when I shot I shot from before there was any Eclipse all the way through past when it was completely over. And I think I only had at that point, I only had 32 megabyte SD cards and it fit on there easily. In fact, I
Meg
took
or gigabyte?
gigabyte, you're right.
Yeah.
And in fact, when I got done, I shot a whole series of darks and flats at all the different exposures that I had shot during the eclipse, which is a lot. So, and they all fit on that 32 gigabyte card. So,
Okay.
so if you're only going to shoot, like say just the totality part from second contact to third contact or whatever, a battery should be fine. But if you're going to shoot all day or 3-4 hours, I use one of these power bricks that puts out 9 volts. Or I can set it up to put out 9 volts. You can connect this, at least with my camera, with a Nikon, I can connect it up to the camera and just run all day long without worrying about having to change batteries.
Do you have a grip?
What's that?
Do you have like a 2 battery grip?
I do, but I'm not going to use it for this. I'll just use an external power source, which I could run for days on. So,
Right. Okay.
and then of course you need a lens or a telescope, and then at a minimum you need a tripod, and then we're going to probably talk more about cables later. But at a minimum, you need a standard USB cable to connect computer to camera, and then of course the software. And we'll talk about all of these things again. But this is the bare minimum. I put this slide in case there was someone here that was, first time, just going to try it with as little equipment as possible, but probably most of you will be doing more than that.
Well, and just a comment about the computer batteries can be an issue with that too. You get an old boat anchor and maybe the batteries are not up to snuff, and
Yeah.
you maybe need external power for the computer too.
Of course. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. So that's the minimum. Here's what would be nice to have. So the pro version of the software, there's several functions that will only work with the pro. I mean, one of them is, I think, the GPS. Another one is the using a second cable. So those things are, I think, for most of us is pretty important. So,
Does the
and
beta have the pro version functions?
Yeah.
yeah, well, yes. Well, no, not until you buy the pro version of it.
Correct, right.
Oh, so if you can buy a pro version of the beta though.
Yes.
Yeah, it works for both.
Okay.
Yeah, refer to Dan's post on Groups.io. He laid that out pretty well.
Okay.
Okay, so GPS. I don't know about this. I mean, I can't remember whether I had one in 2017. I think I did. I've been playing around with it. It's nice, but to be honest, I mean, my iPhone is probably close enough, I would guess. I mean, I can bring up an app on my iPhone and get the lat long, and the timing from a cell phone is pretty close too. But if you want to get the GPS time and the GPS location, certainly the software works well with a GPS unit. So
Hey, Bob, I just launched, if you go under location and time and Eclipse Orchestrator, where you can manually put in the lat long, but it also asks for altitude.
right, you can get that from. I have an app called
GAIA, GAIA.
no, no.
That's what I have for altitude.
Mine's called My Altitude. The app is called My Altitude, but it gives you the lat long and the barometric pressure and the water boiling point and the altitude.
I don't think altitude is too critical.
No, I don't think so either.
I would say though, I looked back and when I did shoot the 2017 Eclipse, I had forgotten to sync or update the time in the PC, so I was off by like 7 or 8 seconds. And I mean, there was some bracketing or some other, but I mean, I actually looked back today and I'd never really gone back and said, oh, did the script do what I wanted it to? And there were some series of stuff that I was trying to get Bailey's bees and didn't get anything because I was off in time. And 7 seconds is enough to
Yeah.
throw it off. And then maybe there was a sequence for prominences and I got Bailey's beads because the timing was off. And
Yeah.
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 So
I think your goal should be less than 2 seconds.
yes. Yes.
It's hard to be any closer than that unless you're just lucky. Another thing that I'm going to do is, because this software was published, I think the latest version was 2 years ago, except for the beta one. Who knows whether the Eclipse information that's built into this app has been updated. And so there are other apps and other websites where you can get, the exact timings. And so I'm going to double check that before April. And you can enter in new data into Eclipse Orchestrator if you find out that its data is not as good as the most accurate, the most up to date. So.
Okay.
And then the second cable. So for some cameras, if you just use a USB cable, the time it takes between exposures can be upwards of 2 or 3 or even longer seconds. As the trigger, when it sends it through USB signal, it's just really slow. So the second cable is used to actually trigger the camera, and the USB is used only to update the exposure and the ISO and the stuff that you're telling it to do for that particular exposure. And with this second cable, you can get down to sub-second times between exposures if you've got a fast enough card and a fast enough camera. So once again, Dan had some good information about the company that makes the real popular cable for this. They're shutting down their operations on the 19th or something. So that's like Saturday.
Yeah, or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you need this, if you want and need this cable from them, you should order it ASAP. I actually have one from way back when, but actually I found out last night that the cable, not the box itself, but the cable, it's got a bad connector on it. So I actually ordered a new cable from them, and I got notice that they shipped it today. So
Yeah, I ordered one today myself, or yesterday rather.
yeah. And then, of course, unless you want to be sitting there watching the whole time and moving your camera around by hand, yeah, putting it on a EQ mount is a good solution. And I'm hoping to actually get to my site wherever that's going to be the day before, the afternoon before, so I can polar align my mounts. Excellent
Yeah, me
mounts.
too.
Hey,
Yeah.
Bob,
Yes, sir.
would the Star Watch Solar Quest be a good idea for this?
I'm not familiar with that unit. Anybody else?
It's used with I bought a Lunt solar telescope,
Yeah.
and it has a sensor. It basically is a Skywatch tripod, and it's a head unit,
Yeah, yeah. No,
and
I know what
it
you're talking about.
automatically finds the sun and tracks it.
I'm
Oh, I
sorry.
used to have one of those. They work great.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
okay.
I have one
Yeah.
too. I just didn't recognize what you're talking about. It's a
Oh,
Skywatch.
I'm sorry. I used the wrong name, I guess.
No, that's okay. Yeah, I had the same thing. Yeah, I'm going to use that for one of my scopes, not for the one I'm doing this with.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
But yeah,
But you could, right?
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
You're talking about the Skywatcher Star Adventure Pro? The
No,
thing
no, no.
I
There's a
have?
No.
special one for solar.
Yeah,
It's
they have
got a
a
sensor. It actually finds the sun. It's got GPS in it, and
right.
it's just for solar.
Okay, I'm not familiar with it.
It's a
And
really cool.
is that like an LDAS as opposed to equatorial?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It is.
But that's
yeah,
still
it is.
fine, right? It's just tracking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
right. And we're not worried about, sub-pixel accuracy here. As long as the sun stays relatively centered, you're fine because you can align it later. So that is my list of things that you might want to add to your repertoire, as it were, if you want to go all out.
A question, Bob.
Yes, sir.
You said the second cable and you can get maybe under a second. If you tested that, do you know about how fast you can get?
Yeah, you can get under a second. I mean, assuming your camera can handle it and your SD card can handle it. Yeah,
Right.
you can get down under a second.
So it's not going to make it faster than just the maximum speed of your SD card. It just, you'll
Correct.
be able to realize but you can't go any faster than that without a better card.
Correct, but I mean, most modern cards can handle a pretty good clip. I would guess in most situations the camera is the limitation. The camera typically can't do it in more than 2 or 3 seconds at a time. That's usually the problem. So if you've got a reasonably modern card,
But can't and didn't Dan say, like, when you do this, can't the camera buffer?
yeah.
Well, it does buffer only if you have the second cable.
Right.
It doesn't buffer if you just use the USB. That's the
Yeah. But if
Yeah.
that's the advantage of the cable. But I mean,
Right.
if the camera can buffer dozens of pictures, you should be okay, right?
But not
Yeah,
without
it's
the
okay
second
until you
cable.
run out of the buffer.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Right.
not without the second cable.
Yeah.
Yeah, once you hit the end of the buffer, you're done, which I don't know how many, could be 10 shots, but
Yeah. Okay, so
Well,
most of you,
just for perspective, what sort of exposure lengths are you spanning over for this whole?
hold that
operation?
thought.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
I've got a slide coming up that shows you that. So first steps, probably most of you have already done this or maybe not. So install software. When you install it and start it up the first time, it's going to ask you for some stuff. It's going to ask you if you have an old Canon camera. Man, it's bad enough to have a Canon, but to have an old Canon. And then it'll ask you for where you're going to view from. There's a couple of things it asks you for just to get you kind of started. Be aware that it can take, I don't know, mine takes 10 seconds or so, but it can take longer than that for it to actually start up and show you the startup screen. Don't think it locked up. When I first got this in 2017, early 2017, I used to get really frustrated because it wouldn't start up. Some people online have said it'll start up faster if you have an empty SD card. If you start out with a fresh SD card, it might start faster.
Heard that.
That hasn't really been my experience, but your mileage may vary. So then once you got it started, to me, the first thing we do is there's a place to go, and we'll see this in a minute, where you set the event so that it'll set it to the correct Eclipse. And And then the next thing is to run their wizard. And it asks you for some more information. And then once you run the wizard, it will actually create for you a starting script, which is a starting off point for, setting up the way you want it to be. And then then there's various ways to adjust that script. It's stored in like a text file, a CSV file or a text file. And you can either edit it with Notepad, or you can edit it actually in Eclipse Orchestrator software.
Just to comment on the wizard. In the free version, the wizard is really limited. I think it does the coronal bracketing and
Right.
a bunch of other stuff it doesn't do. But then when you get the paid version, there's all these check boxes of Velu's
Right.
beads and stuff, and it enables all of that. So
Right. And you can't run a GPS, and you can't run the second cable. So
right.
It's pretty limited. It's pretty limited. So
What menu is the wizard in?
File.
yeah, I think it's in the file menu. First to the left, or the second one. Okay, Mark, here's your exposure list. So
Okay.
this is your Bible of exposures, and you can see that it varies. The Q factor, which is a way to measure exposure, varies from 11 down to -3. So 14 stops of dynamic range.
Wow, that's more than I imagined.
Yep. So there's instructions here. I won't go through it in great detail, but this is a starting place. There's no guarantee that these are going to be exact. But let's say, you're going to shoot, partial eclipse with a 4 ND level filter. You can go over and at the top, you can say, okay, so I'm shooting at ISO 200. You go across, I've got a scope that's at f8. Come down and, well, sorry. Yeah, f8. No. ISO 200, go to f11, go down, and it's 1/4000th of a second. So, and so most people use what's here, and then when you get to the corona, you can see that you just do a bunch of bracketing. And I think in 2017 I had 3 full brackets during the 2-minute totality, and I think this time I should be able to get in 4 or 5 series of brackets. So there's your.
When you say a bracket, you're talking about those all the ones under Corona. You just cycle through those as fast as you can.
Yep.
Okay.
Do a 2000th. Actually, it doesn't have I do them all. I do 2000, 1000, 500, 120, 1/250th, 1/25th, the whole thing.
Bob, do you remember what millimeter you shot at to get the whole Corona streamers all the way out?
Well, mine, I don't think I got them all, but I shot with an ED80, which is 480 millimeters with a crop sensor.
Yeah, but didn't you shoot something wide angle? Because don't you have an image?
Oh, you
of
mean the one where I like
the streamers?
No. That was all done with the same setup. ED80 and a Nikon 7500 D70.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And you can see there, Bailey's beads. Well, we'll see it later. We'll talk about it later. So you'll see this chart. This also is in Jerry's website. You'll see the same chart. But there's another, if you go to this one, this guy, I don't know how to pronounce his name. He's a real Eclipse, expert kind of guy. At this one, it actually has a calculator where you can put in various different, what's that? Did you say something, Dennis?
No, I just coughed, sorry.
Oh, okay. Um, anyway, you can check this out, and it also has some other calculators on there as well. It kind of talks about fitting the disc into, showing you how big the sun's going to be in your field of view and that kind of stuff. So it's an interesting resource.
Yep.
Okay, I just stream of consciousness things. The biggest thing is to make sure that you don't try and get too many shots in a short period of time. So this is a balancing act, and obviously it's going to be unique to everyone because your camera is different, your card is different, everything's different. So your PC. So this is where you got to figure out how fast you can go without missing exposures or going from one exposure to another and not changing the exposure correctly to the right exposure. So this is probably the most important thing. And if you look in the manual, they have 10 things, 10 most important things. And I think this is the first one on the list, is not having enough time. And then I said this already, if you're going to shoot the whole event, which is like 3-4 hours, you might consider some external power source. When all else fails, reboot. So, like I said earlier, I have had problems where I've done something and it just gets all messed up, and a reboot often helps. In my case, I have to turn on the PC first, wait for it to boot up, then turn on the camera. And yeah, someone mentioned, I think today on Groups.io, you can go into the device manager, and I think it's usually listed under mobile devices. You can see if your camera shows up there, just to be sure that the PC has recognized it,
Mhm.
and then start EO. Now, maybe with your camera and your computer, it's a different sequence. I don't know. So, figure out what works. After like months and months before 2017, I finally worked out, what worked for me time after time after time, and I was pretty confident I had it worked out.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's all I got into the. Oh no, I didn't. There we go. The old joke: how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. So I recommend 2 different kinds of testing. Bench testing, obviously, just inside, you can connect up your camera, with or without a lens, and just run your script. And we'll look at them later, you can compare the log files with the actual data that you get in your images, make sure that all exposures were correct. And you can check the time. And so there's some tools within the software to allow you to do this comparison. And so this is what I did over and over and over and over again last time. And then, and I didn't do this last time, and I wish I had, I would do 1 or more dress rehearsals, pick a sunny day, and then, take everything outside just as you're going to do it on Eclipse Day, and just set it up and run through your script. If you're running on a mount, make sure that, don't forget to set it to solar tracking rate, not sidereal tracking rate. And take notes. What did you forget? What are the little things that you need while you're out there? And then create a checklist, step-by-step plan, et cetera, et cetera. I did have a checklist and a step-by-step plan last time, but it wasn't as good as it would have been if I had done a dress rehearsal. And especially for anybody that's going to run multiple rigs, I think this dress rehearsal is absolutely because you're going to be running around like crazy trying to get 1 or 2 rigs running, and then the other one's not going to be ready, and it's just going to be a mess. So,
And you could simulate your eclipse for that.
yeah, yeah, you can. Yeah, we'll get to that when we run the software.
Okay.
All right, so that's.
Are you going to share this presentation with us?
Yeah, I can send it to you. No problem. All right. So now let me.
Yeah, you're gonna make a YouTube. You're gonna post this to YouTube or something, Bob?
I can. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know a couple of people were interested and couldn't be here, and asked me if it was getting recorded.
Yeah. Yeah. We had planned to do that from the start. Okay. So let me. Gotta plug in my camera here. Okay. So I have my PC running. I started my camera. You can still see my desktop, right?
Yes.
Okay. So for instance, if I go to device manager, portable devices, and there's my D7500.
All right, that's how you found it. All right.
And says device is working properly. So I verified that the PC is definitely seeing the camera. And then I'm going to start up Eclipse Orchestrator. Now I've already installed it, so I'm not going to run through the stuff it asks you when you run it the first time. Okay, so I disconnected the GPS, so it's telling me here that it's not connected. And so let's just run down through the whole interface. Not the best interface in the world, but it's a lot of information. It's here. So okay, so at the top, it gives you the current time and date. Don't worry, this is clock error. Don't worry about this for now. Then it gives you the name of the script that you're running. You can create multiple scripts. So I'm going to have a script prepared for each of the 5 campgrounds that I have reservations so that I don't have to mess around with it when I get there. There is such thing as an emergency script, which is where you can just set it up to like maybe do like one bracket through all of the exposures. And so if something goes wrong or if it gets cloudy, or you can create this special script and just hit a key and it'll just do it like in between clouds or something. So you can do that.
So Bob, quick
Yes.
question.
Mhm.
You said you'll have scripts for each location. What will change?
The some of my sites, I'll have a full like 4 minutes and 30 seconds of totality, and some of them I'll have less. And for the ones that have less, I can't do as much bracketing during totality.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'll have fewer exposures in there. So here's the latitude, longitude, and the altitude. And then the GPS status is shown right here. It tells you how many satellites there should be and how many it's connected to. I'm down in my basement, so last night I was having trouble getting it to lock up to sync up. All right, then it shows you here the type of eclipse from that you'll see from this location, latitude 3359 and longitude -95. This happens to be at a campground called Raymond Gary Campground. I think it's in Indiana. I'm not sure. So it tells you that it'll be a total eclipse from this location. The penumbra will be 2 hours, 38 minutes, 38 seconds, and the umbra, which is the totality, is 3 minutes, 47.5 seconds. Tells you the distance to the center line, and the bearing to the center line, and CL duration. I don't remember what that means. 4 minutes and 18. I don't remember what that means.
Oh, that's the
Center line.
center line.
Center
Yeah.
line.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yep.
That's your
Uh,
max, I guess.
Yeah. Then it shows you the key event times for that location. So, and first it's in UTC time, and then it's in the system time, which is your computer's time. So the sun will rise that day at 11:58 UTC. First contact is at this time, second contact, max eclipse, third contact, fourth contact, and sunset. So gives you all of those. It gives you the altitude and azimuth of the sun at each of those points. the magnitude, gives you a bunch of, this is like the,
Now the times there, they're probably the things you said you may want to independently verify to make sure it's modeling
exactly.
it correctly.
Yep. This column right here, the
Yep.
UTC time
Okay.
for each of those, I would, check those against a source that's been updated before the eclipse.
And the key are second and third contact, right?
Well, yeah, that's totality, right? That's from,
Yeah, but I mean, first contact doesn't, or fourth contact are not a big deal
yeah,
if
it's,
they're off by seconds or even a minute.
yeah, absolutely.
Max eclipse is just in the middle of totality. So
Yeah.
okay.
Then it shows you the current camera settings. So my Nikon D7500 is set at 1/200th. F6 is my scope. It's an F6 scope. ISO 400. And then Q is that thing that was in that chart that we were looking at. Which is it's a way to measure the exposure level. If you're running a camera, a regular DSLR, you can, on some cameras, you can do the mirror lockup. So it will lock up the mirror and then pause for a specified period of time and then take the image in case you're concerned about vibrations. So you can do that. And then quality is whether you're shooting RAW or JPEG. Anybody else on this call going to shoot Nikon?
I am.
Dennis, you are?
Yep.
So be aware that with Nikon cameras, the mapping between what you enter for the quality and what actually happens in the camera is off. In order to shoot RAW, you need to put in this, when you set up your script, you need to put RAW plus F minus JPEG. And it got cut off here. Otherwise, you'll get JPEG images. Yeah, that's one thing I picked up on Cloudy Nights and I didn't know and found out. Then there's this thing called, this is N. It's either N or Y. I can't scroll down. And this has to do with, so if you're changing the exposure, anything about the exposure from one shot to the next, then the USB, that data goes across the USB. If you're not changing anything, like for instance here, all of these are this first 5 are uneclipsed. I'm all of them are at 1/2000th f6 400. I'm not changing anything, so you can put an N here, which tells it just shoot at the same settings you already had.
So it cuts down on the chatter on the USB.
Exactly. So you can go a little bit faster using that. But in the manual, it warns you that you should still, even if you're doing a bunch of them, you should still stick in some Ys once in a while just to make sure that it doesn't get lost. So, again, your mileage may vary. Okay, so now let's go through the menu and
Hey,
you
Bob?
can't see. Yes, sir.
I noticed you have that N significant, that N signature on all of them.
Yeah, I'm still working on my script.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I'm not done yet. So
Normally it wouldn't be that way all the way down.
well, like for these first 5 are uneclipsed.
Yeah.
But the exposure for uneclipsed and for partial eclipse are all the same.
Okay.
So I can do N all the way down until I get to first contact, and then things start to change.
And that's not the whole script.
No, you can't. I can't scroll down.
Right.
It's when you run it, it scrolls up, and I'll show that in a minute. So let's go through all of the menus. So in the file menu is the script wizard, and we'll do that in a minute. Open is for opening your script, and you can choose whichever one you want. Edit is to edit the script within Eclipse Orchestrator, and we'll look at that. Edit in Notebook will take your script and open it up in Notebook. Reload is to reload the script after you've edited it. I have had troubles with this, not really reloading. I've actually had to sort of restart after I edit, so just beware. Visualizer is like a tool that kind of shows you what the Eclipse should look like at any time. View exposure sequence is, it shows you your act. So in your script, you don't have to list all of the events in exact order. But it will sort them out and put them in and do them in order. But this right here will actually show you your whole sequence in order, so you can look at it that way. There is a log, so you can look at the log, which is useful sometimes. I have no idea what this is. Save is to save your script. Save as, obviously. Close. And then set the emergency script. You can create that emergency script and set it or close it. Location. So location, you can set the location, and we'll do all of this. We'll come back to it, but you can set the location. You can update the location from the GPS if it's plugged in and connected. I think follow GPS position means that it will just in real time, if you're moving, it will actually continue to update. So people that are on boats or airplanes or
Huh.
spacecraft,
Submarines, maybe not so much.
probably not. So I haven't checked that. All right, so these three are real important. So real time means that it's set to now. And so you can see down here in the list, it says countdown minus 52 days. So if you ever need to know how many days are coming up to the eclipse, just start the software and it'll tell you exactly how many days there are. So 52 days left. So that's what real time is. And then simulated time is you can actually tell it to go to a specific date and time and start there in the script. So if you're testing, you don't want to go through all of these, uneclipsed and partially eclipsed. You want to go to a certain spot and test, you can do that. Or if you just want to go right to second contact, which is where all the heavy stuff starts, it'll just automatically go to second contact. And
And I
then,
think it's like 20 seconds before or
yeah,
something.
I think it's,
Yep,
yeah,
yep.
I think it's 30 seconds actually.
Okay, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then event times gives you just the list of event times, the main event times. And I think this is where you can go in and edit it in case you find better data.
Where does that data come from, Bob?
In Eclipse Orchestrator, it's built into the software, and I believe it's Fred Espinek's data. He's a guru, Eclipse guru. So that's where that comes from. And then local circumstances table is just it's a notepad, so you can just print out really quickly the information for your location.
Hmm.
Okay, camera. So you can tell it to go push the shutter. I don't know whether you heard that, but it just did the shutter on my camera. Or you can go and you can tell it what you want it to shoot. So I can change the shutter speed here to 1/100th instead of 1/200th and make an exposure, and it just did it. And Dennis, by the way, this is one place right here where you need that raw plus F minus JPG.
Okay.
And then you can have a global exposure compensation. So, you find out things start to run, and for some reason everything's way overexposed. You can go here and just increase or decrease it by number of stops. And then this is to launch or stop the emergency script. View, it's just miscellaneous stuff, the font size and which units you want to use for exposure. And then setup is where you set up the hardware, where you set up inferior cameras, where you can run multiple cannons. You can do a clock error adjustment, and you can sync the camera clock to the PC. So This is kind of actually useful. You can, whatever your PC time is, you can hit this and it'll set the clock in your camera. And then the rest of these are just whether you show certain things on the screen, and then it tells you what the solar radius is, and then these two corrections which it says are recommended. So I haven't checked. But here is where you choose the event. So don't forget to do this right away when you first start. Set it to the correct one.
Do you set up the camera and the hardware configuration?
Yeah, I'm going to do that in a minute.
Okay.
We're almost done with so this is just, there's some interesting things here. Let's see if it'll do the simulated view. Okay, so yeah, so this is not showing anything because I've got it set to today and it's not on the actual day, so it's not showing anything, but it'll show you kind of what the sun will look like and how eclipsed it is. It'll also show you.
Would you just leave that open on the screen during the?
Yeah,
eclipse?
you can. You can. I don't know whether it has any resource impact to the software. Probably not, but
But you could do that during your testing and just to see whether that works,
yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely. And then there's a map here that you can play around with. I didn't really mess around with that. You can do live view if your camera supports it. This is what most people do for focusing. The sun can be really hard to focus on, especially if there are no sunspots. But luckily, we're in the part of the cycle that hopefully there'll be lots of sunspots. And if you go into live view and zoom in a bit, it makes focusing. And they recommend that you definitely refocus shortly before totality because the temperature will be starting to drop and your focus may maybe not be right. So this is important right before.
Yeah, and I think there's a option in there it does some calculation and displays a number.
Yeah.
It's like an average or something on the screen. So if you're more in focus, the number is higher. So it's
Yep.
kind of a little aid, perhaps.
Yep.
Which looked interesting.
Yep.
You have to be like pointed at the edge of the sun for that feature to work?
No.
I tried it. I was pointed at a chair and
Okay.
it calculated somehow maybe the more detail, it gave a higher number.
Yeah.
What did you do, Paul?
I just tried the live view and I pointed at a chair across the room, just something, and adjusted the focus. And the more in focus something was, the number got higher. It has like some number.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just an arbitrary number, so it's relative, but
Yeah.
It's a chair with a cloth background, and when I nailed the focus, the number was significantly higher. So it seemed like it could be useful.
Well, you could, in your testing, live testing, you could just see
Go
how
to the
well
sun.
that works. Yeah, on the
Yeah,
sun.
yeah.
Yep. And then you can have a simulated lunar limb, simulated sky, and Bailey speeds, but we can't see any of those right now because we're not on the right time. And then in the help menu, you can actually go to the user's manual. There's some help topics. I haven't really even used that. And then when you buy the pro version, this is where you enter your serial number to unlock the additional functions.
Yeah, if you click that on real quick, if you order through that link I sent you on the website or the news group, you don't put your name in there. You just leave that blank. So anyone that's doing it through the link.
Bob, if you go to help and click about, see what version you have.
391.
Is that the beta?
Okay, mine's the 391 as well, but I got the free version, unregistered free version.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, but the second line said registered pro version.
Right. But it's the same. It's the same version.
Yeah, this is the beta version.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, but certain things
Oh yeah, you get more features.
Yeah, you get more features. Yeah, but otherwise it's the same stuff. Yep.
Right. Yeah. No, I had great success with the free one.
Okay, I was gonna go back. I'm gonna run the script wizard here. So you choose the, oh, I forgot about this. So you really don't even go choose the event because it'll do it with the script wizard. So my bad there. So you choose the event, you choose your camera, and you have to be connected here, otherwise it won't find your camera. But and then you can set your latitude and longitude by pressing this modify position, and you can type it in. If you have a GPS connected, you can click these, take GPS, and it'll show it here, and then you say okay. And that's first page. Then you want to set your maximum exposure time, and so if you want to, I mean, you look at that table to figure out what you need, but in most cases, to get earth shine, you're going to need probably 5, 6, 7, 8 seconds. So I think my maximum is set to 8 seconds. Then your preferred aperture. So if you've got a scope, I would just put the focal ratio of your scope in there. Otherwise, it's whatever you are going to use your camera lens at.
Could you click on that drop down? Oh, it doesn't show. I'm just, do you type the number in? But like
You wanted that in the hardware section, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. You can change it in the hardware section. Sorry. Yep.
Okay, so like if I've got a 7.5 telescope, I can just type in 7.5.
I think you have to choose whatever's closest, but I'm not sure. We'll look at it when we get there.
Okay.
Bob, kind of a dumb question. Why is the ISO preferred at 200 as opposed to 100?
You can set it to whatever you want it to be.
No, I know, but I noticed everybody uses 200, and I was just curious why.
Well, some cameras have a native ISO that's 100. Some have a native ISO that's 200.
Some have 50.
My
right?
guess is Dan knows a lot more about this than I do. But
Where the hell is he?
I don't.
right.
I was going to ask the same question. Like, what
Yeah.
else do you say?
I mean, I don't think
It probably doesn't matter.
Yeah, for this purpose, I mean, if you're shooting under, if you're 800 or below with modern cameras, I mean, it's not going to be any different. So
there's
I think it's probably what your f-stop is. I mean, if you have a very fast f-stop or a very slow f-stop, maybe you have to use a higher ISO to get your exposures.
yeah, it could be.
Or
Yeah,
vice versa.
you'd be a trade-off between those
Right.
two. Yeah.
Yeah, if you pull out your SCT, at f20, and you're looking at just and it's showing you just a
sunspot.
a sunspot, yeah, then it may be an issue, yeah. But
I know like some of the recommended exposures are like a 4,000th of a second. So, if you had 800 ISO, your camera might not even go up that fast,
right, exactly.
right. So then it would have to like
again,
override something or
look at the chart, because this will be specific to what your hardware is. Right?
Yeah, but you can go to the chart with the focal ratio.
Yeah, I'm just saying to choose a preferred ISO, look at the chart with reference to your hardware.
Right.
Yep, exactly.
This might be, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
It might be kind of a dumb question. If I'm using a lens that's 2.8 and I want to do again the Corona, what would you recommend my f-stop be? Since you're the photographer guy.
Well, I'd go to that table that we showed and work backwards from what kind of exposure time do you want, or what's the fastest your camera will shoot, and then work backwards to what you have to set the f-stop to in order to make that time.
Okay.
But most of the shots you could get away with like f6.3 or f8. It's only like Bob was saying when you do Earthshine or trying to get the longest streamers of the corona, you have to shoot wider open or longer exposure.
Yeah,
Right.
but what does that do for your F ratio?
Remind me, we'll come back to that. We'll go back to that chart and look at it and figure it out.
Okay, thank you.
So if you're using a lens, you can actually change the f-stop live in EO. If you're using a
Right,
telescope,
right.
it's fixed. You can't change it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm using a lens.
Right. And then that's why you need to click this allow deviations. So you can actually change it when you in the script.
So if
Okay.
you're using a telescope, you want to uncheck the allow deviations.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, so you don't screw it up.
Yeah, right.
You don't type in 60 and then you're stuck with an f-stop of an f.
Right. Or at least for aperture, you could change ISO.
Yeah, oh yeah, I can change ISO. Yeah. And then once again, Dennis, here is where you need to put raw plus f minus JPEG.
Okay.
And then minimum spacing between exposures. So it says use 2 to 3 if not using a shutter cable. I found I can usually get away with 1.5, but I haven't decided quite yet what I'm gonna use. And then the program has voice prompts. I think they're useful, kind of funny, but
Useful.
yeah, I think they're pretty useful, especially the filters off, filters on. You don't want to forget that when you get to filters off, filters on.
Need to get a PA system, so if you're with a crowd, that PA just announces, take off the cover, the filter.
Yeah. In my experience, people are not going to appreciate that, but
Bob,
yeah.
how did you know to use that file type? Do some reading or something?
Yeah, on cloudy nights, because I noticed I was getting only JPEGs and I kept changing it in the camera to RAW, and I was changing this to RAW, and then I would shoot and the files would come out JPEG. So I went on cloudy nights and they explained that somehow the mapping between this list and what actually gets sent to the camera is off.
Huh.
And someone played around with it and figured out that if you use RAW plus F minus JPEG, you actually get RAW.
Is that just with your camera or is that all Nikons?
From what I can tell, it's a lot of Nikons, if not all.
Yeah.
It was the same. It's the same on my mirrorless, my Z7. So
Is there a way you can change the voice prompts to be in German?
Sprechen Sie Deutsch?
I mean, do you just type in what it's supposed to say?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think they're just built in, but we'll see that in a minute.
I think they're like WAV files that probably
Yeah, you
come
could-
with it.
yeah.
So if you were clever and created and named your own WAV files, you probably could.
That's probably more ambitious than me, but
Yep.
Ooh.
If you got the
Come on,
time.
Mark. Come on, Mark. We'll
I
all
just think
send, we'll,
German would be. I'd be paying attention if I heard it in German.
we'll all send you a language, and you can make the files for us for
Achtung.
whatever native language we want.
You can make them
Schnell,
opposite to
baby.
confuse everyone
Schnell,
else
baby.
that's shooting.
Okay, so the next page is what you want to shoot. So, starting with uneclipsed sun, so way in the beginning before first contact, to first and fourth contact, to partial phases, diamond ring, Bailey's beads, the chromosphere, the prominences, the corona, and earthshine. So you can tell how many sets you want of each of these as a start. I mean, you're probably going to go edit it, and some people may not want to do the uneclipsed stun, so you can unclick that. They'll just start at first and fourth contact.
And what is a set?
I think for each of these phenomenon, there's a set built-in number of exposures, and whatever that number is, it does 3 of them. And I never really, I changed my script after I did it anyway.
So, what is a set the same thing as a bracket? So, it's one bracket would be one set.
No, yeah, I think a bracket is one set.
Yeah. So if you're doing 3 sets, that means it's going to run all the bracketed exposures 3 times.
Right. And for that, you can set the bracketing to be every 1 stop, or fractions of stops or 2 or 3 stops. So
Oh, right.
um, okay, so then you set this, and I don't know a lot about this because I didn't use it. I edited my script and created what I wanted.
Mhm.
Okay, so
Bob, just to let you know, I'm doing the same screen as you have, but on my free version, I only get the diamond ring
Yep.
and the Corona as options.
yep,
That's it. So the
Yep.
pro version gives you all that. The free
Yep.
version only gives you 2 options.
yeah. Imagine being limited to that on a Canon, man. That would be
That would be like hell. I mean, that's like the definition of hell.
exactly.
How do we know how do I know what version we're supposed to have?
Of the software?
I got 3.8.2019. Is that the right version?
No. There is a beta version that you can get, and best way to find that is on Groups.io. The Dan wrote a post in there that has the link to where you can get the beta version.
Or you could go right to the
You can
website.
get on the
itself.
website too. Yeah.
Is
Yeah,
it there? I didn't.
Moonglow.
You have to hunt a little bit to find it, but yeah, you can download it on the
Okay.
website.
All right. So I'll get rid of this one.
Well, I wouldn't get. Well, I don't know.
I don't have anything written in it. Just
Okay, so what it has done now, it has now created my script. You can see there's no name up here for the script, so unless you save it, you know you won't have it. So we could go save it, and then it has it's put in the latitude and longitude that was in there. It And then it lists, the camera's still connected, so it's showing what the settings on my camera are now. And then here is what it created for us based on those checkboxes that we were just talking about.
Hmm.
So there's 3 uneclipsed sun, 3 exposures of uneclipsed sun, and what is this? 5 first contact, and then partials every 1% of eclipse. So, so what I'm going to do now is it thinks we're 52 days out, but what I can do now is I can go under location time, and I can say simulated time, and you can see that first contact, well, let's do second contact. Second contact is supposed to be at 18:45:03 so the date's correct. So I'm going to change it to 18. Well, we'll just do this 18:44:18. So I'll hit OK.
10 minutes. 10 minutes to go.
So that's voice prompt. So it's saying there's 10 minutes to go, but I think there's a bug there because it isn't 10 minutes. But anyway, neither here nor there. I always get that one.
30 seconds. 30 seconds to go.
So you can see the green, those are in the past. The red is still in the future. Down here,
Filters off. Filters off.
down here, it's showing you a countdown of 4 seconds, 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second. So this is a 10
10
second
seconds.
prompt.
10 seconds to go.
And now it's starting to shoot these Bailey beads ones.
Wow,
There.
this is going fast.
What's that?
This is all happening really fast.
Yeah.
I mean, if you didn't have this program, you'd no way you could do all this.
No, there's no way. Absolutely. You'd be tearing your hair out.
I mean, it would be physically impossible to be doing all this live.
Exactly. You'd get about 4 frames in, you'd throw your camera down on the ground and then sit down in your lounge chair and
And gouge your
You gotta
eyes
talk
out.
to Jerry. He's done all this by hand
Imagine running 4 cameras without this.
on film, no less.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a pause here between when Bailey's beads is over and then when I start the bracketing. I'm going to close this hole here with some more bracketing. But this is the sample one it creates for you anyway. So so we're 17 seconds out of the next one, and so you can watch. The next one is at 1/800th f6 200. But right now the camera's set to 1/32 hundredth of a second. So
So we're in totality right now.
Yep. So you can see that it keeps updating this. This is the current exposure. And so this is the corona bracketing. You can hear it.
Yeah, I see it 1/10, 1/6.
And my earth shine is actually like 5 seconds, but here it's got 1.6. Because I don't turn the ISO up to 320. I don't think. Anyway, so you get the idea. And so you can see that they've got this is the second corona bracketing here and a third one. So they've got actually 3 set up in this 4-minute totality. And we're past max eclipse here because it turned green up here.
So is the view or what we're seeing actually changing during totality? Is it pretty much, other than maybe prominences and such, nothing is really changing?
What do you mean? In the sky?
Well, yeah, I mean, what's really happening during totality from the beginning to the end? Is there anything different in the?
From second contact to third contact, yeah, I mean, you see the corona. I mean, you see the the huge coronas coming out in the sky. You can see
Yeah.
stars. You can see planets. There's going to be a comet there fairly nearby.
Okay.
And then also look around you because it's going to the ground's going to be dark. It's going to be
Yep.
there's animals around. They may be acting weird.
Yeah.
Put a white sheet down on the ground, a white sheet, and once in a while look over at it because it'll get some. Well, you know this because you had that picture from the annular eclipse where in your trailer it was doing that weird
Yeah, it was a pinhole projector from the
exactly
sunshade on the door.
Oh, that
Right.
was so cool.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
similar thing happens if you just put a white sheet out on the ground.
Uh-huh.
You get really weird like patterns on it and stuff.
Now, one other subtlety I read somewhere. I mean, during totality, the moon's moving across the sun and it's a little bit bigger. So, like, if you do this bracketing, you're trying to stack pictures and you try to align on the corona, the moon's actually moving subtly between frames. If
Right.
that makes sense.
Right. So when you do the stacking, you have to make sure you stack on the sun and not on the moon.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Paul. That was kind of the nature of my earlier question, is that
Filters on.
the moon is larger than the sun. That's why it's totality.
Right.
But it is moving, and so I guess what you'll see as far as the corona, it's sort of being masked by the moon differently as it moves across.
Well, the inner corona, like the black shadow of the moon, if you will, that's going to be moving slightly
Right.
during totality, and
Yep.
it's not a big deal for just a single frame. But when you start to stack the bracketed corona pictures, I mean, there's a strategy, I think, to try to take a set of stacked exposures as quick as you can to minimize the moon's movement when you
Right.
try to stack them.
Yep.
Yep.
And
Hey,
this
Bob?
is the only part of the eclipse that you'd want to try stacking during totality?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
The others are all single frames, I would think.
Yeah.
Yeah. The corona
And
is
the
the big
stacking
one.
would bring out the fainter aspects of the corona.
Well, and I say stacking, it's more HDR is the typical technique because you're bracketed. You're not taking the same exposure typically. You're taking this range of exposures.
Yeah, I got it. So
To get the dynamic
HDR
range, you really need to
stack,
use some
you-
HDR type techniques.
I got it. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I did no stacking. The only stacking I did on my eclipse photos was just like creating layers in Photoshop and showing different phases all in the same
Okay.
frame. But that's not real stacking. That's
Yeah, I
just
shouldn't have said stacking. It's
Yeah.
We're gonna have a class on that when we get back, right?
Yeah. Post-process.
You're going to lead that one, Dave.
Okay, so now we're past max eclipse and we're past third contact. So I'm going to go back up. You can go to location and time now and go back to real time, and that stops everything. So now we're back. We're back in February.
Okay.
Now, next thing you can
Older.
do, what's that?
Got colder.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, I had to put a
Definitely
jacket
did.
on.
I was going to ask you, when you're running that script, is your camera plugged in?
Yeah,
Yeah, do you have to have it plugged in? Is it clicking away?
plugged
Like
in
taking pictures?
power wise or plugged in signal wise?
Well, either is the camera taking pictures when you're doing that?
So this is, can you see this? So I've got,
Yeah.
this is a power brick, which is plugged in
I
to,
think he was asking, is the shutter going when you're running this simulation?
Yes.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
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 Okay.
And you want it to, because whatever limitations, physical limitations your camera has, you want to measure those.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, you're right. Thank
Uh,
you.
Yeah. Okay.
So
So
if you're finding that it's crashing on you, you need to figure that out inside because your buffering isn't fast enough or something, and
right.
that's where to work out those kinds of details so it's bulletproof.
Right. Okay. So we created a script by running the wizard. We just ran through one sort of we let the sequence run once. Now I'm going to go over to setup for a minute. So setup, hardware configurations. So if your camera's plugged in to the laptop and it's on, number one, it should show up in device manager like we looked at earlier. And then on this, it should show up in this box in this drop down here. And I don't know about Canons, but it has this weird 00. I don't know whether this is like a serial number or whatever, but it shows you the camera. So you select your camera. You have to give your camera a name, and the name has to be exact in the script to whatever you put here. Otherwise, it won't work. So yeah, whatever you put here, just remember that you got to put that in the script. You can actually run two cameras. I've never tried that. You have to have a special cable to do the triggering for that. This is where you set the lens aperture.
What did you just say, Bob? A special, I mean,
To run two cameras, you have to have I think you have to have a cable, special cable to one that connects to both cameras. It's in the manual. I don't remember. I'm not
you
gonna.
can't just
You
connect
need
each
two
one
of
up
those
with
shutter release
USB
cables
or,
for shoestring.
well, yeah, to do the trick, but I mean,
Yeah,
Whether-
that's all you need.
Yeah, the shoestring, you can buy two versions, one that's for one camera, one that's for two cameras, right?
Yeah, they have different addresses. They have one that's like 0.
okay, okay. Oh,
Yeah,
if
that's
you
what I-
need to use the shoestring for both, yeah, gotcha.
But you have to buy the dual shoestring, not.
Well, you
just the-
buy two of them.
Yeah,
Oh,
two of them.
but I think they sell one that does two cameras at once, just
No.
one. No?
No, it does the second camera.
Okay.
Ah, okay, gotcha.
So then, you put this is my scope, focal length, the recycle time, 1.5 seconds. I'll be using an equatorial mount. And this is where you click if you want to use the shutter cable. So you click here, and then you click here for how to set it up. And then this is the cable type. So like we were just saying, if you have a serial cable, if you like you have an old laptop that has a serial, DB9 or whatever connector on it, you might be able to use that. But most people use this DS USB from Shoestring. And then you can set the shutter press time. So this is how long the signal is sent, the shutter. And I was reading the manual. If you have a faster camera, you can set this down to maybe 50. And so that'll also decrease the time in between. Well, I'm not sure what it'll decrease the time in between. But if you press it for too long, you might get two shots. So you need to make sure that you adjust that. And that's it for here. I think all the rest of this is automatic. I'm going to say cancel because I didn't change it.
Bob, I just found something out for at least all the Canon people. When you connect your Canon camera, if you have EOS utility on there, that will override Eclipse Orchestrator. So you have to close that You're either going to run Eclipse Orchestrator or EOS Utility. They cannot run together.
That's why Howard's isn't working. Because he was
Because
using that utility program.
as soon as you plug it in, the utility launches, which then Eclipse Orchestrator will not see the camera. I just found that out.
So you don't have to uninstall it. You just have to close the app.
You just have to close it.
Oh, got it.
I'm using utility, EOS Utility version 3, which came out recently.
Thanks, Dave.
You're welcome.
And then if you're using the shutter cable, you can also do the mirror lockup or not.
Would you use that, Bob? Mirror lockup?
I'll probably try it during my dress rehearsal and see how my shots come out, because I'll probably be running this on a big honking Lost Mandy mount, so I don't think I'm going to have much problem with vibration, but I'll test it when I get there.
I mean, there's no downside really, because you're not looking through the viewfinder on the camera, right?
Well, no, but mirror lockup takes a little bit of time.
Well, once it's up, right?
Does it stay up for the whole?
No. No, I don't think so. I think well, at least on Nikons, I don't think it stays up.
So it'll take extra. Well, okay, I got it. Thanks.
I think it might. Well, we'll have to experiment.
Yeah.
I thought mine stayed up all the time.
I think it's per shot, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think if you go into your menu, your camera menu, you may have I think my Canon does that. It'll lock it.
Yeah, it says mirror lockup, and you can turn it on.
Yeah, but I think that's just for cleaning. That's just for like cleaning the sensor. I don't think that's the same thing as what this is talking about.
Yeah,
Typically, you got to press the shutter twice, once to lock the mirror and then a second time to take the exposure.
That's probably what it does.
Yeah. Okay. That's why we all need to experiment.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then if you're using a GPS, you can set if you know the COM port. I had to do a bunch of experimenting to figure out which COM port was the right one. I know Paul mentioned the same thing on groups. So you might
Yeah, I
have
mean that's a flaky because first time I tried it, it was COM 3, and then I like unplugged it and played around without it, and I tried it again, and then it wanted COM 4, and I don't know why, but
mine's actually COM 13 on my box. So.
oh my goodness.
And then this use GPS time, if you click it, then it will use the GPS timing. So I don't know what a kestrel is. If someone knows what a kestrel is, it'd be good. It has something to do with weather, but I don't know what it is. Okay, so this is where you set your hardware. When you click OK, it's going to say, got to restart the program. So anytime you change any of the hardware settings, you got to restart. And we didn't save the script, so I'm going to say cancel and go say save as.
Oh, you Canon guys, I just tried to mirror lockup on my 80D. When I pressed the shutter once, it brought the mirror up, but then I have to press the shutter again in order for the mirror to come back down. So it's almost like a double press. So I think mirror lockup is not a good thing.
Well, if there's enough time in the script, if the script is smart enough, it knows to do that double shutter press. So, if you're not taking a bunch of quick shots, maybe, yeah, I don't know. Like you said, you have to play around with your particular system.
Okay, so I stopped it, restarted it. When it started back up, it loaded the latest script that was in there. It's the name I gave it. So now I'm going to go over to this thing called, where is it? Oh, that's right. It's in File, View. Well, first of all, do View Exposure Sequence. So this is the whole sequence that it created for us with the wizard. So we can see here and this is listed in order, whereas when you edit the script, it's not necessarily in order. So this gives you the whole shoot and match. And this is useful. What I would do is I would print this out and then I would go and check, each exposure against the actual image, making sure that the metadata in the image match what it was supposed to be.
Mhm.
And this is also helpful here. It has incremental time. So this is starting at 0. The next one is 1.5 seconds later. The next one is 1.5 seconds later. Next one is 58.5. So you can kind of look down and make sure you don't have any that are like 0.2 seconds or whatever. So that's one file you can use. And then in the log, this is good. The log is good because it has this thing called late by, and it tells you how early or how late your exposure was. And I'm not 1,000% sure I understand how it calculates this. But I did notice in some of these cases where it's late by like 1.2 seconds, if I go and check, it's because it was 4.5 to 6.9, so that's 1.4 seconds. So I might be getting these two might be too close together. And depending on what the exposure time was. So this is a 2,000th of a second, so that's not a big problem. But anyway, this is useful because it tells you can go down here and see. And I was, if it was less than a second, I tried to get it as low as I could, but if it was less than a second, either way, or early or late, I called it. I called it a
So
day.
was this from what you just ran a few minutes ago?
Yeah,
Good
February
question.
14th.
No, this is, I think this is,
No, the top of the page says February 14th.
yeah, but that was yesterday, right?
February 15th.
All right, it is 15th.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, let's
Or is
see.
there more than one log here?
Yeah, the log keeps going. It doesn't start every time you start the program. So here, this is tonight when we started it.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah. But now, did you have a serial cable, or you just run USB
No.
tonight?
I'm just running USB tonight. My serial cable, as I said last night, I figured out that
Oh, right.
I wiggled it just a little bit. It wasn't working very well. So tonight I'm
But
running
that,
USB.
that might be why some of these are late or something. And
Yeah,
then
it
if
could
you
be.
did the serial, it might be interesting to compare. And
Yeah, it
Yeah.
could be. It could be.
Okay.
And another reason why I'm fine if it's less than a second is because I don't the prediction they say the predictions that the various people put out are typically, within 1 or 2 seconds. So
Right.
I'm not worried about another half a second or 0.8
Mhm.
seconds. So
So this keeps a running collection of all of your logs? Is there a way to like start fresh to zero it out?
I don't think there's an automatic way to do that.
I suppose if you just deleted the log file, then it would start fresh.
Yeah, if you delete it, it will create a new one. I know that because
Yeah.
I have done that.
So if you wanted to just start with a fresh log file on the day of the eclipse, rename the old log file or delete it or something.
Yep, exactly. So when I say rinse and repeat, that's what I was doing in 2017 was I would make an adjustment to my script, and then I would run it, and then I would look at the log versus the exposure the planned exposure sequence. And then I didn't look at every single image, but I would go look at the metadata for the images and just make sure I was, getting the right exposures at the right times. So let me go to, what was I going to do next here?
Hey, Bob, do you know if I have a script in Notepad, how to put it, make it a CSV?
If you just save it in Notepad, you should be able to open it. I'll show you that in a minute. So
Yeah,
there's a
because I
couple-
tried and I couldn't do it.
What you haven't showed us is editing a script.
yeah, that's where I'm going. So under File, Edit, it brings up this dialog box,
Nice.
which is one way to edit it. So it shows you for each of the different kinds of phenomenon what you've got it set to. I don't particularly like this interface. To me, it's kind of confusing, and so I didn't use it, but it's here, and in the manual it explains how to use it. You can reset all of the various data, and you can tell it how many to take. And then oh, one thing I haven't talked about is in the script. Well, we'll get to that in a minute. In the script, everything is relative to C1, C2, C3, and C4. So what you are typically telling it to do is at C1 minus 5 minutes, take an exposure. And that means 5 minutes before first contact. So everything's relative to C1, C2, C3, C4. So anyway, I'm not an expert on this interface because I just haven't used it that much. I typically just went into Notepad. So here is the script that we created in Notepad. And in the almost the very end of the manual is sort of all of the commands. And I won't go through all of them, but so for instance, if you remember, there was three at the beginning of the script. There was three uneclipsed images, right? So this is a for loop. Anybody that's done any programming, so for, and then in the middle you're taking a picture. So this is the three images you're taking. This 1.5 is the time between them. I think the 0 is like a delay, but you have to look at the syntax. But in the middle is, take a picture. And this is first contact, and this is minus 1 minute. So 1 minute before first contact, the Nikon D7500 is going to take an image at 1/1600th of a second at f6, ISO 200. I don't remember what this 0 is, but it's 0 on all of them. This is
Mirror
the,
lockup.
what's that?
Mirror lockup.
Is that mirror lockup? Okay. And then this is the kind of image. And then the N we talked about earlier, N or Y. And then this is you can put a comment here. So this is a comment where it can remind you what it's about. So and then
Hey,
then
Bob,
after that, yes, sir.
I'm sorry to interrupt again.
It's okay.
But
We're here
one
for it.
question. The shutter speed. How did you pick that shutter speed, or does the program pick that?
Well, it picked it for this dummy script. But
Well, how are you sure it's going to work? You don't know if it's going to work, right?
well, you have to go by previous people's experience, right?
Okay, all
Are you,
right.
are you seeing the chart now?
Yes.
So
I get it.
yeah, so in your script, if the time is Bailey beads, then you gotta set it for whatever fits in this chart.
Okay, all right.
So you would basically look at, okay, I'm at F number this, I want to use ISO that, scan down the column, and for each event, you'll know what your shutter speed should be.
Okay,
Right. So if you use the same ISO and you're either using a scope or you leave your f-stop exactly the same on your lens,
right.
then one column here it would be for the whole event.
Okay.
So for
Just
instance,
adjust the shutter speed.
if I'm at ISO 100 and I've got a scope or a camera lens that's at f11, then I shoot the partials at 1/2000th. I shoot the Bailey's bead at 1/2000th. I shoot the chromosphere at 1/1000th. Now, it may not be perfect, it depends on how high it is in the sky, depends on, if you've got like thin clouds going by, it's a guess, and that's especially important during the corona because you want to, that's why you bracket during the corona. But there isn't enough time during Bailey's beads, the chromosphere, and the prominences to do any bracketing because they happen so fast. So that's a guess, which
Okay.
is why you use Fred Espenek, who's like the guru.
So if for instance, I have a 7.5 on my ED80, so I'm looking at the F number ISO matrix and I see eights. And so I would probably just want to look at which of these which of the columns I want to use where the F number is 8.
Well, yeah, or in
And decide
between.
which of those makes the most sense in
Yeah.
terms of what the shutter speeds are.
Yeah, or in between 8 and 5, 6, right? So, if you're
Okay,
looking at,
with the shutter speed, is there anything in between a 500th and 1/250th?
yeah, there's yeah. Well, I'll put it this way. On a Nikon there
On a
is.
Nike, I knew that was coming.
Okay. Well, let me get my Canon out here. I'll tell you in a second, Mark.
On
But I mean, you can't give the shutter speed 450th. I mean, there's only certain ones that out
no,
there.
well,
But you typically can
usually.
set it to like a third or a
Yeah.
half of a stop.
Yeah, you can set it to a third or a half of a stop.
That's in the settings, and
Those instances where there's no shutter speed, there's the dash, that means it's really high, right?
Yep, that means
Quick.
too fast.
Less than 1/4000th.
well, but some cameras now go up to 1/8000th, and
Yeah, some of them will go to 8,000.
this was like 2008, so
Yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
you can either lower the ISO or raise the F number.
I
But
understand.
for those of us with a telescope, we have to just, pick one F
Yep.
number, and we're limiting ourselves to that. And you can just choose which column works best for any given eclipse feature based upon what shutter speeds you
well,
want.
but that was Dave's question earlier. If he has a fast lens like an f2.8, you probably don't need to do that for most of the stuff other than the very broad reaches of the corona or Earthshine.
Well, let's do his example. If he's going to try and shoot at f2.8 at ISO 100, it
Right.
says here it's too fat, right? It's
Right.
It's
unless,
too fast. So 5.6 is the way to go.
right. So go up to right. So
But to shoot the corona, like the bottom row of the corona, you could change
To the 2.8.
to 2.8 and stop the lens or open the lens up and then shoot a quicker exposure.
right.
And just remember the faster your lens, the lower your f-stop, the harder it is to get critical focus.
Yep.
So you'll be a lot more forgiving going with like a 5.6 or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, true that.
I think I shot f8 the last time.
Well, and that might be a reason not to change f-stop during the eclipse. Try to shoot everything at the same f-stop, right?
Well, if you're a lower f-stop, you just have your critical focus range is so much smaller, your depth of
Right,
field than a
right.
5.6, right?
Yeah.
Right, you got to have really tack sharp focus.
Yeah, you could, you could shoot at f25. I mean, at ISO 25 at f22, and then you got a 30-second
Oh, that's awesome.
corona.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seeing this camera only goes to ISO 100.
Actually, this table doesn't show Earthshine, does it?
No. But Mark, just to let you know, shutter speeds on this Canon, which I think you have something similar, goes 1600 to 2000 to 2500, 3200, 4000.
Yeah.
That's shutter or the ISO what?
That was the shutter speed.
Shutter speed. Yeah.
Then you could alter that with compensation.
Yeah, you can. At least on the Nikon, you can set it to run half stops or third stops, and whatever you set it to, there'll be between 1/500th and 1/250th. There'll either be one more intermediate one or two more intermediate ones.
Yeah, in your camera menu, you can select what granularity you usually
Yeah.
want.
Yep.
It's in the menu setting.
On the camera.
Correct,
Yeah,
right.
in the camera. Yep. Yep.
Dave, was that on your T3i, those ISOs?
No, I'm using an 80D, but when I shot in Tennessee, I used a T3i.
Gotcha.
Steve, when did you show up? I didn't notice.
Oh, about 20 minutes after 7. I
Okay.
was a little on, and then I couldn't. I had like 50 emails. I was trying to figure out which one had the link in it.
Okay, so back to the script. So you can edit it here in Notepad, and then when you get done, and you can just regular text files, and note that like here's all the voice prompts. They're not in the order, they're not in between the right places here, so that doesn't matter. The script can be out of order. The software, when it runs, it'll put them in order. So you don't have to worry about that. See what else about the scripts.
I like this because it's easier, I think, just to read what's going on.
Yep.
But you could look at this and say, oh, I want to change one thing, and you could go back to editing in the software and just change that one thing, and then you don't have to worry about getting some syntax error.
Well, that's true.
So
You
how
just
do you
get it in and out of
or
CSV.
something?
What's that, Dan?
How do you edit your scripts? I
Me?
thought you had put an Excel screenshot before at some point, maybe last week.
Oh, that was I just stuck that into Excel just to store it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
no,
you
I
have to
don't.
do it within this, I guess.
So it has to be a text file or a CSV file. So for instance, and it says it two or three places in the manual, it says do not save it as an Excel file because it'll screw it up. So if I go here and say save, it's saving, I believe it's saving it as a CSV file. But I believe it also works if you just name it a text file.
Can you check that? Because I'm trying to do it with you as you do it.
Well, it says text documents was the default.
Yeah.
.txt was the default. So it's not a CSV, it's a
So as
TXT.
an example, Bob, like what is your interval for shooting the Eclipse before C2?
Hold on. Lots of questions coming here.
Sure.
Before C2?
Or C1 rather, right?
So that's right here.
So what do you use for that? Like every 5 minutes or?
This is my latest script, which I'm still working on. So I've got
30 seconds.
no. Yeah.
Your intervalometer's at 30 seconds.
Right. So I've got 5 shots, 30 seconds apart. Starting at 5 minutes before C1. But again, I'm just working on it. That's what this means here.
But then part of that is really what you're trying to accomplish, right?
Right.
Like,
right.
why do you even want to take shots before C1?
Well, I mean, yeah, between C1 and
Get,
C2 rather, that's what I
sunspots.
meant. Yeah.
Get some
So you can do this.
Yeah.
So you can do this.
Yeah, I meant between C1 and C2. Yeah.
Okay, well,
But then that depends on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to do a time lapse or something, you may want to take, every 30
Right.
seconds or every 15 seconds or.
But how would you program that here or write the script for that?
For what?
For like intervals between C1 and C2.
Well,
Is it just one for loop?
Well, so here's my,
Yeah, the one you highlighted, that's the
yeah, so
intervalometer.
here is, well, sorry, come back up here. Eclipsed, this is, by the way, when you put a pound sign, it's a comment. So it's not going to do anything. Eclipsed images during C1 to C2, every 1% from 1 to 99%. So this is, the syntax is a little bit different here, but you can go basically increase the percent by 1%. So it's from 1%.
And that's your intervalometer is every 1% of that part of the eclipse.
Right. Well, it calculates what
Referring to time intervals.
It
1%.
calculates.
I think it's that MAGPRE variable
Right.
field.
This is right. Right. You have to.
That's what's actually looking.
You have to look at the
percent.
manual. You have to look at the manual and see what the
Okay.
you're gonna have to learn the language a little bit, because there's different ways to skin the cat, but this is the way I did it. And I don't
That's
remember.
saying you want 100 photographs in between C1 and C2.
Right. And it automatically figures out when those should be using this construct here.
Yeah.
And so then then here, eclipsed images for diamond ring, 4 images, 2 seconds apart, starting 10.5 seconds. So this is starting 10.5 seconds before second contact, taking 4 images, 2 seconds apart.
And so where's the syntax when you're doing bracketing?
So if I remember correctly, and the brain cells are a little weak and I am still getting over COVID, so
Okay.
take all that into account. I think I just did it this way. I did it brute force.
Okay.
Yeah, because this is bracketing 400, 100, 125th, 1/6, 1. Yeah, so I did it brute force. And again, I'm still not done with this.
I think the for loops are easy to just take the same picture with a time increment. But I think if you're trying to change like exposure settings, like exposure time or whatever, it's easier to brute force it.
Well, I
Yeah.
wonder what the wizard did for the bracketing. How did it create the script when you're bracketing with the wizard?
First contact, fourth contact.
It brute forced it.
Yeah, they brute forced it too.
Okay. So it's good to start with the wizard because you'll save yourself a lot of typing.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I would not. I would.
Don't write it from scratch.
I would not start with a blank piece of paper. No.
But I think the wizard, doesn't it use like the exposure values from like SPNX table? Pretty much.
Well, we don't know. Well, maybe. I don't know. I don't.
But I mean, you program your camera and you say, I have a preferred ISO or I have a preferred aperture, and then it's going to use those, look up the table, and
Well, let's just put that to the test here. Let's look at Bailey's beads. And it's showing Bailey's beads at 1/8000th at is that
F-stop,
F6.
ISO 200.
Okay, and
8, 6, and 2.
Bailey's beads, ISO 200, F6, which is in between here.
Yep, it's at 8,000. That's
4,000.
4,000.
Yeah, so it looks like this is one stop between here, one stop between here. Yeah, so one stop, one stop. So yeah,
The
so
one stop is about a 2-to-1 on the
yeah,
shuttle.
it's so it's and it's in between this 4 and 5, 6 here.
Right. So it's in the neighborhood anyway.
Wait a minute, wait a minute. No, it was ISO 200, right?
Yeah.
It was this row. So it's in between here. So yeah, so it's like 1/8,000th, a little bit faster than 1/8,000th.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, if you were to just take it out of the box and use this wizard, you might be okay, but
I mean, it's good to check against whatever reference you have for the best estimate
yeah, exactly.
and see it's not crazy, but it's in the neighborhood, so it looks like it's using the table in some sense.
Yeah. So that's how you edit in Notepad. I'm just gonna close it.
Drum roll, how do we convert it to a CSV?
Well, you do a save as and you choose the format being different,
I
right?
couldn't
But-
find a save in the save as.
But a CSV is really comma separated values. So like you see those lines with all the commas.
Yeah.
Like if there's 10 fields in a row, you got to
Doesn't do-
have 10 fields separated by commas.
All right, that's not English, but okay.
Okay, I just replaced it with a text file.
Okay.
Same name, but it's a text file.
Oh, so if you just do save, it just saves it as CSV.
Right.
But if you save as, you can choose to save it as a text file.
But if you save it as a text file, will the Eclipse Orchestrator recognize it?
Just opened it.
Yeah.
All right.
Wait a minute, it still says CSV here.
Because I have a script that's in text and Notepad, and I'm trying to get it into Eclipse Orchestrator, and I can't figure out how.
It was filtering for only CSV files when you were in the open menu. If you go back to the open menu,
This?
yeah, you see it says filters of type,
Yeah.
all files. Then it should show the text version you saved.
Yeah, but will it then open it?
Well, we have to find it to open it.
There it is.
No, that's still CSV.
Still the CSV.
Oh, I thought you'd saved
So
it.
when did you save it maybe in a different folder?
I thought he overrode it.
It's on the desktop. Huh.
Well, that gave you the option to save it as a CSV.
I mean, is there, you
All right.
really,
Back to CSV again.
Yeah, but okay. I see what you're doing.
Just popped out on your desktop. You did that.
Oh yeah, it's putting them on your desktop.
Yeah, that's fine.
there it is.
All right, here we go.
Works.
So you got to
Yeah,
actually.
see, it
type
says
the,
workshop.txt. Okay.
Yeah. So
So
add
when you
add
save
add
as, you got to type .txt.
yeah, add .txt to it.
Yeah.
All right, gotcha. Thank you. Thank you
A
so
little bit
much.
of a little bit of a kludgy thing there, but
Yeah, like I said, the software is a little
perfect. Yeah.
yeah.
Save as a text.txt.
Think of what else we can look at here.
All right. So now we go to
Now, if you did open it up in Excel, which because Excel can read a CSV, then each of those columns, or I don't know, how does it show it in Excel? Does each column have a different part of the code, or is it only using the A column?
It'll put each column into a separate cell in Excel.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it might
know,
be a
'cause
little
it
easier to
separates them
edit
by
in
the columns.
Excel. Yeah. Yeah. So it might be a little easier to edit in Excel than in a text editor.
I was reading Jerry's notes. He says, do not use Excel. So
I mean,
Yeah.
you'd have to save it as a CSV.
I'm doing something wrong. It didn't open.
10 minutes. 10 minutes to go.
Oh, not ready. I'm gonna start to panic when I hear that voice.
So here's some of the other things. So this is the lunar limb
30 seconds.
from
30 seconds to go.
from this location. So it gives you a sense of what the Bailey's beads might look like.
Sounds like NASA.
Filters off. Filters off.
Yeah, the play-by-play during a NASA launch.
Freaking open.
You have to change it with Hal's voice.
10 seconds.
That
10 seconds to go.
No. We need Joe's voice on here.
Oh my God.
Well, if you're watching a SpaceX launch, there's the play-by-play announcer, but they also have a color commentator, who talks more like in English to everybody.
So he just so you know it's here. I never found much use for it either, but there's this script visualizer. So this is you can visualize what's happening. Trying to remember how to. There we go.
There you go.
So this actually shows you color coded and like these red. These are all your exposures. This is like a bracket.
Hmm.
This is max Eclipse. So you can use this to kind of edit your script as well and see. And you can like idle. It shows you how long you're idle before that image and how long you're idle after that image. And you can put the comment in. So you can kind of edit a little bit your script here and just see it visually. But I'm an old programmer. I like code, so what else can we look at?
There's got to be a joke. Old programmers never die; they just blank. But I can't think of what it would be.
They just get eclipsed.
blue screen of death.
Well, that's for astrophotographers never die.
So here's the simulated view. So we're in the middle of totality. So you don't see
Are those the poles of the sun? Those dashes? Those lines?
Yes, too many questions.
Sorry, occupational hazard.
Could be.
Yeah, if you know what, if you want those to be the poles of the sun, those can be the poles.
Thanks. Yeah, I have that kind of power. Mind over matter. I was just thinking it might be the axis of rotation or something of the sun.
They're simulated prominences.
What are the odds they'd be on opposite sides of the sun at the same time? Oh, so the beads?
You had them.
I set the time back to a few minutes before totality. All right, I'm running out of stuff to talk about.
Well, this has been very thorough. You've answered, I think, all the questions I had coming in.
Yeah, this was very good. Thank you.
I'm gonna have to pick your head at another time. I can't get that script into Eclipse Orchestrator. Maybe it's because I have the free version, you have the pro version.
Oh, yeah. If you've got features that aren't in your version, maybe that would be a problem.
Yeah, I did exactly what he did, and I couldn't get it to go.
Oh, Skyview.
I can't do that. Yeah.
I can't move that. All right, so Dave's going to Texas. I'm going to wherever. Paul's going to New York. Steve,
I'll be in Lexington the week before the eclipse for a Pat Metheny concert, and I'm not sure whether I'm going south or north from there for the eclipse. I haven't decided.
Steve, you gonna jump in on this?
I'm still debating on whether I'm going to be able to get a day off of work or two, and whether or not I'm going to like just do something from here in the yard or venture a little bit further away. I've got some ideas.
2
But
minutes. 2
I gotta
I'm
minutes.
see how
going to
things like that
Ohio.
work.
Well,
Who's going to Ohio?
Me, Wayne.
Oh, okay. Actually,
My wife
Ohio,
just happens to have college friends that live right in Totality.
oh,
nice.
okay. I have a coworker that's out near Cleveland, so possible I might head out that way. But again, I got to see how work schedule goes.
Well,
Yeah, I
Rich,
think you might have the flu that day, Steve.
I
Or
I'm
COVID.
coming down with something, that's for
the
sure.
solar flu, it's going around. Hey, Bob, is anybody else interested in taking a look at the website you said where you could see the path of the eclipse?
Sure. Rich, what's your plans? Last I heard, you might go to like San Antonio or something.
Yeah, down that way.
60
Find me,
seconds.
Rich. I'm going to
60
be
seconds to
right
go.
outside San Antonio.
Dave, how are you going to get all your equipment down there? Are you going to take it on the airline?
Actually, I can take all my camera gear on the airline, and then Dennis is driving, and the rest of the gear is going to go in his vehicle.
Uh,
Nice.
We're going to some place called Canyon Lake is
30 seconds.
our
30 seconds
accommodations.
to
Then
go.
we're going to go to Fredericksburg for the day of the eclipse.
how far is that from Dallas?
Filters off. Filters.
It's pretty far down. We're down by San Antonio,
Hmm.
in between Austin and San Antonio.
10 seconds. 10 seconds to go.
Okay, so this is one of the sites, this greatamericaneclipse.com.
Oh, okay.
And it's got, for each state, it has maps that you can get. It's a reasonable site. This is Jerry's. This is the software. This was that calculator I was telling you about, exposure calculator. So you can pick actually this one has Earthshine, so this one might be even more useful than that other table, except it's not a table, so you got to put in everything you want. But you can also put in here, I'm going to use a full frame camera with a 300mm lens, and it'll show you what the field will look like here. So I think,
But you have to choose from a drop down. You can't give it some in
yeah,
between.
yeah. So so Dan, you said you're gonna use your not your space cat, but
Red Cat,
Red Cat at
350.
so it's between that and that.
Hmm.
And then maybe the other one, I'll use my 560mm.
Now that little picture on the right, it shows you how far the streamers go out. Wow. I know that gives me an idea because I got full frame and I was going to go out 200mm.
Yeah, you'll get it. You'll
You'll
definitely
get all of it, but then
But if you had
my APS-C is going to be at 550. That's if I'm shooting prominences with that.
yeah, exactly. Let's see. All right, so there's this, and then this is the one about weather, which it's got all sorts of data about where the weather's the best. I think
That chart
where's
there
that
is
chart?
hysterical.
yeah, this is the one that the
But
Paul
that's not a forecast. That's like a almanac. That's a historical.
An
right?
average.
Oh,
yeah,
no, this-
over the whole month.
No. This is exactly how it's going to be on April 8th.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Look at Rochester. That's hysterical. Is that in there?
Yeah, it's
New York.
right
Yeah.
here. It's right at 60%.
It's not bad.
Yeah. Arkansas is, I think we talked about this before. Rich and I talked about this once. Arkansas looks pretty good. But, I was
Well,
saying,
Mexico looks awesome.
yeah, but I was saying, I wonder what the error bars are on these, if it's like 0.8 plus or minus 0.2, It's like, it's a joke. But
So
anyway,
where's your friend near Cleveland, Steve?
Keep scrolling down. What about the El Nino, Bob?
Yeah, yeah, my buddy's near Cleveland.
El Nino.
So how's that going to impact it?
uh,
Well, it looks like it's a plus minus in percent.
yeah.
So blue means
It's
less
better.
cloud cover.
Yeah, so it's roughly the same in the whole track except for Texas and Arkansas are better.
Yeah. Well, that
Okay.
was my plan A, was to go down to Texas, so I may still do that.
I'm flying into Houston and driving over.
Anyway, there's that, and then where's the rest of my stuff here?
Well, there was one where the website was like the number, the year of the eclipse, and that was the one that you said at the map that would show for a given location how
Filters
far.
on.
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Filters
Oh,
on.
there it is. Yep, that's it.
Yeah. So
Filters off. Filters off. Filters off.
Wow.
Shut the fuck up.
trying to find the one. I had the actually one that showed there's a ton of good stuff in here, and this one especially.
Can anybody figure out how SJC can sell our glasses? We have like 200 pair.
Put them on Etsy.
Don't all chime in at once.
Put them on Etsy.
Etsy, right?
Etsy. Where the fuck it is.
Yeah, that's it.
There it is.
Is that a new batch, or is that the batch from a number of years ago?
No, it's a new batch.
Hmm.
Night Sky Network sent it to us. Anybody going to be an Eclipse ambassador for and do the mega movie for Night Sky Network?
No, I did it last time. I think it was a nothing burger.
For your selected location, there's a link you can.
Yeah, I got an email from asking me to do it again.
Yeah, I did too.
I have a question. Has anybody come up with software that'll control your camera if you want to take a video? Because your exposure changes during a video too, right?
Oh yeah.
Good
If you
question.
set your ISO to auto, it'll adjust. Because you can't really adjust anything else.
I think you're better off trying to shoot a time lapse.
Yeah, there's a gadget called Arsenal that'll connect to your digital SLR, and it'll do the Holy Grail settings for like sunrises and sunsets. I haven't done that on an Eclipse, and I'm not sure I will, but that kind of adjusts the ISO, the shutter speed, the aperture, all those things to try to get the optimal exposure over a wide range of light conditions.
Okay.
Can't find it. The really cool shadow video that I saw before.
Can you post this on the E group so that we could click on these links if possible, or copy and paste them?
Yep, of course.
Thank you.
Well, you could even in Zoom, you could just put it in the chat. We could download it from here too.
I just need to share it with people.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is what I was wondering about. So yeah, you can zoom in, slide around, show you exactly where a center line is going to cross a
Oh,
road.
but yeah, you can click and then you get the details for that exact point.
Because I mean, I'm just probably going to find a road that crosses the center line and just pull off the side of the road and shoot from there.
So yeah, just what I just did was I clicked on just a location and then view eclipse data for your selected location. It tells you that lat lawn, but then here it goes, it gives you a view of what it would look like.
Oh, I see. So you could run it, what it's going to look like from Philadelphia. Are you going to see anything, from Philadelphia, for example?
That's going to be almost like 85%,
Yeah,
90%.
it's like 80%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, from Philadelphia?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
You could stay home, Mark.
Where's your house, Mark?
Right
Where are you?
downtown Philadelphia.
Where are you? Where are you?
Keep zooming in. Keep zooming. So I'm at 2nd and South. So you're a little bit too far north.
There's
Just
Fifth Street.
There you can see South Street. It's below Chestnut, just a block below Lombard. If you keep going down, on your cursor, and then to the right, right there. Yeah, click there.
What happened? Oh, there you go.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's pretty
Wow,
good.
that's pretty. It's you're not going to see totalities, or probably won't see stars, but it's more than I thought it would be.
It's almost like the annular eclipse, except instead of the ring of fire, you get the crescent of fire.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So the temperature should definitely drop with that much
Yeah.
coverage of the moon. I know we got chilly standing out in the sunny desert when that annular happened, even though you couldn't see the shadow of the moon without the glasses. It got cold. I mean, it made a difference.
Well, that I showed you that, or I showed some of you that plot I had of temperature from 2017.
Yeah, I saw that. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Dropped like 20 degrees. All right. It's 9:30.
Well, thank you, Bob. You're very generous.
Thank you very much for doing this.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Not a problem.
Tomorrow I'll get my charger for my old laptop and we'll see if I can get anything to connect.
So everybody's going to bring their boat anchors with them, right?
Yep.
See, my camera bag's got a slot for my laptop, so I'm
Never
just
gonna-
a one-man show.
We're never gonna let you live that down, Dan. That's gonna, that's talk about boat anchors. That's gonna be around your neck for years now.
That's awesome.
Say, Bob, let me ask you just kind of a mundane question. What do you do with your laptop during the eclipse? I know it's really bright outside with the sun and it's hard to read the screen. You're going to put it inside like a plastic tote or something so you can read the screen better? Or do you just not even look at the laptop once you start the
Put
program?
a blanket over you.
Yeah,
That's what I
or that.
did.
But I'm just asking what people are planning to do so if they want to look at the screen, they can actually see it in the bright sunlight.
I've got a collapsible laptop tent.
I'm gonna
Okay.
be like Jim Nash. I'm gonna do the whole eclipse from inside my house, remote.
Um,
And you're going to have a webcam pointing so you can
Yeah.
actually see the live view. So
in 2017, I had one of those 10-foot by 10-foot canopies. And I had all my electronics,
the
laptop
shade.
and all that kind of stuff in there in the shade.
I
It
have
was
some
hot.
canopy like that, a 10 by 10.
It was hot though, and I was worried about my DSLR. So I took a towel and made like a makeshift like cover so I could put the towel in, so I could put the DSLR in the shade.
Oh yeah, it was 95 friggin' degrees.
Yeah, it was pretty hot. So that won't be a problem in April in the Midwest, but
Now, we should hit in Texas for those going definitely, well, probably right around the 80-degree mark. So that should be like right on
If
the
your
money.
camera's black, man, it's gonna get hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I covered my camera in Tennessee, and I put basically
think
a
that-
towel over the screen on the laptop and then over my head to
I
look
wonder if
in.
just aluminum foil would just reflect enough heat that it would keep it cool.
Yeah, it might. I don't know though. Those cannons, they top out at about 85 degrees. So yep.
Celsius or Fahrenheit?
Yeah, right.
Kind of camera do you have, Rich?
I'm not going to be using a DSLR. I'm going to go with the ASIs. I'll set up multiple cameras, multiple focal lengths, and multiple boat anchors.
Yeah, I'm gonna use a 2600 mono camera for my Einstein experiment.
Yeah.
Because I can have exactly the same temperature for the data that I took back in October and compare it to the data from April with the exact camera and temperature and all that. So
Can you install with one serial number on two different computers, EO?
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yes. So if I had more than one computer, I could use EO on more than one camera.
That's correct.
Let me ask
I
you
don't
this.
have-
Could you shoot the Corona at the wide angle at 200, 300 millimeter on a non-tracking tripod? Since you only have 4 minutes of totality?
I imagine.
Uh,
Not going to go out of the field of view in that time.
use Stellarium. Figure it out. See how much it moves in
Oh, yeah, right. Good idea.
Stellarium.
But if you did a one bracket, that's not the whole totality. You could probably shoot one bracket as exposures in like 30 seconds,
Yeah, just to
20
get the
seconds. It's
Corona.
only like 12 exposures. Most of them are short.
Yeah, you probably could do the whole thing in under 30 seconds, like you
Yeah.
said.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I
that's all
mean,
you
you
need
can
to.
do multiple brackets during totality.
Cool. So I don't have to bring another tracking mount.
David's not going to see the eclipse.
Gonna be cloudy there?
No, you're going to see the back of your camera.
Not me.
I mean, the only trouble with that is you got to align the tripod to the sun before you start shooting, you know?
Yeah, it's we've learned a trick through the years for that stuff.
The shadow of the camera.
That's it.
Shadow of the scope. Shadow of the lens.
Shadow doesn't lie.
It's just something else during that brief moment of totality, you know?
Yeah, but once you're there and you're holding your shutter release cable in your hand, just clicking away while you're watching it, it's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing.
Well, I have solar filters for my Red Cat and for my Gear 115, a 800 millimeter and a 250 millimeter telescope. And I was thinking, well, might as well just set those up with ASI Air and just have them do some bracketing during the eclipse just to see what I get. Why not? Any advice about that?
Not for me. I gave up on ASI Air a long time
Well,
ago.
but I mean, you could do it with Nina.
Well, I'm actually using Nina for my Einstein experiment, but that's different. I'm not doing any bracketing. I'm just
Yeah, because I'm figuring because that's something I could just set up a routine in the ASI Air and then just forget about it. And if I get something interesting, I do. If I don't, I don't. I'm not really out much by just setting those up during the eclipse, is what I'm thinking.
Hey, Bob, with
Yes.
your Einstein experiment, you trying to do the magnetic shift,
Yep.
son? Yeah. Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I took images in October of that same area of the sky without the sun there and without the moon there, to get a background of exactly where all the stars are in that part of the sky. And then I'm going to use the exact same camera, temperature, scope, everything during totality. And I actually took 3 different fields of view, one like 2 degrees east and one 2 degrees west, and then one right at where the sun will be. Sort of calibration frames. So then, and I'll take fairly long exposures during totality so I can see the stars right near the sun. And then I'll measure the exact position. I have some software that measures the exact position of the stars in the
Oh,
field.
gravitational bending, you mean?
Yep.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yep.
On another subject, so if I take that text that I have the script in that I can't get into Eclipse Orchestrator, is there a program I could drop it in and then save as a CSV? Which program allow me to save it as a CSV?
You could try opening in Excel and then save as a CSV. You can try it.
Okay, Excel saves as CSV as an option.
Might.
Just rename it a CSV in Windows. Click on it and, navigate or whatever.
Why do you need to change it to a CSV file?
Yeah.
It's
It
already a
won't.
text file, right?
Yeah, but I did exactly what Bob did. But remember, I had the free version, and
Okay.
it would not load into Eclipse Orchestrator.
Share your screen, David. Let's do it.
I'm on my laptop. Give me 1 second.
You got a part with $100.
109.
109. Yep.
I got to hook a camera.
I'll chip in $1 for you, Dave. Make it 108.
There we go. I'm hooking my camera up.
I think I'm gonna leave. Take care, guys. Thanks, Bob.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks, Paul.
Yep.
Thanks, Paul. See ya.
Yep.
Hey, Steve, did you get my email about the contest software?
Oh, yes, I did. I'm sorry about that. I forgot all about that.
Okay, no big deal. I'm not hurting for it, but just want to make sure you got it.
Yeah, I'll look for that tonight and get it checked out to you.
Yeah, the
that's there.
Eclipse Orchestrator guy, he probably was so inundated with all the tech support for the last Eclipse, he's probably like, I'm never doing that again.
So this is what the field of view would be with my three telescopes and an ASI camera. So you can see the middle frame of reference is the one I plan to shoot with. No, EO, because that's not the ASI camera. I think I have the wrong camera on that one. Never mind. I'll fix that.
Guys, I gotta step off, but thanks a lot, Bob, and we'll talk to you guys
Yep.
later.
All
See you,
right.
Dan.
All
Good
right,
seeing you.
bye-bye.
Son of a bitch.
Hey,
Oh, did I say that? It wasn't me. I don't have Eclipse Orchestrator. I got to download Eclipse Orchestrator real quick on this desktop.
that's why I won't open it up. You don't have it on your computer.
No, I have my laptop right next to me. Eclipse Orchestrator pops right up because I downloaded it. Here we go, products. What's new? Here's your beta version, which was where? Downloads. And here, user manual, download.
So this is what I'm going to be my field of view
There it
for
is.
the EO with the ED80, this middle frame right here. So yeah, I've got lots of room. If there's a little bit of drift, it's not going to drift out of the field of view. And I figure there's probably a big enough field of view to capture some of the
Yep.
the larger effects that's come out farther from the sun. I don't know.
That's with what camera?
This middle bracket here is with the ED80 and the Canon camera right here.
Full frame or
Yeah, it's a full frame. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but if I did with the Red Cat, I'd have to put the Canon on my Red Cat. It would be, no, I have to change the camera. This is, so what I plan to do is shoot the Gear 115 will give me a close-up of the sun.
Yep.
With the ASI camera, and then the Canon using EO will shoot this frame. And then the question is, do I even bother to set up the Red Cat for this or not? I don't know. Seems like that would be the least interesting one to shoot.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah, unless the corona goes way out, but
if I have all three telescopes set up the night before, might as well run the Red Cat, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm gonna have two ED80s and a Lunt 50. The Lunt's gonna be interesting to see. But
So you can do a close-up of the sun during the eclipse on the Lunt?
well, it'll be definitely full disc, but just barely. Just
Okay.
barely fits in the field of view.
Yeah.
Where the hell?
And
Who in
then
the
I'm
club is using the club Lunt for the eclipse?
We haven't figured that one out yet.
Oh. You're gonna do a raffle or something?
Yeah, there was some of that. But didn't you say something you wanted to get it actually beforehand?
I'm thinking about buying one, and I thought, well, I should just borrow the club one and kick the tires so I'm better informed. So
I
I'd
think
like to use it before the eclipse, but if it's available during the eclipse, I might consider adding it to my menagerie.
I think they're trying to figure out whether it's going to be David or Mr. Rossi who's going to use it.
Actually, it could be a Mr. Oswald. Start installing, close any other open application. So I got to close a whole bunch of other stuff.
All right,
Well,
Dave.
keep in mind, if
you
that's
wanna,
not going to be used, the Lunt, I'd be interested in using it if it's not going to be used.
All right. Well, says I've installed this program 2 times and yet I don't see it on my desktop anywhere. So yeah, I'll have to get back with you, Bob.
Yeah, let's do a separate Zoom, you and me, and
Yeah, I really appreciate that. This is driving me a little crazy. I don't understand what's going on here, but I'm also going to dump the thing into Excel and see if I could save it as a CSV.
Yeah, that's the only app that I know of that saves files as CSVs.
Okay.
I'm gonna run, guys. My charger says I'm at 4%, and I'm plugged in. It's just the charger's just not keeping up with the Zoom. So, thanks
Okay.
again, Bob.
Thanks, Dave.
Have a good time.
Yep, take care.
Good seeing you, Steve.
Same to you guys.
Bye, Steve.
Take care.
We'll talk to you. All right. Well, until we all meet again, maybe we'll have lots to talk about this art party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably
So-
still be processing images by the star party.
Ain't that the truth? So
I'm
right.
just wondering, is there any interest in maybe sharing like cell phone numbers or something, just in case we're going to be in the neighborhood with somebody else that's shooting?
well,
I don't know
Mark,
what
you
it's gonna
have
be.
mine. If
Yeah.
you go to Texas, you have mine.
Yeah. So I thought if as a group we wanted to share contact information, if there was any need to communicate in case we ended up being in the same neighborhood.
You can put it out there. Put it out on the e-group.
Okay, that's good. Good suggestion.
Okay, I will figure out how I get the PowerPoint and the video recording out to everybody. I'll figure it out when I get a chance, but I'll make sure it's out there.
Yeah, you had a lot of very cool links in there, and that was very nice of you to put that PowerPoint together. Really appreciate you doing this whole thing. So, attaboy, Bob. Attaboy.
Thank you, Rob.
Thanks, Bob.
Yeah, just hope I get well enough to go.
Well, the only thing that's going to make you feel better is that guitar. So start practicing.
Stairway to Heaven.
There you go.
Just in case. You know.
Just in case. All right. Good night,
Okay.
everybody.
All right,
All
take
right.
care. everybody.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks again.